Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. I am fresh out the shower on this one because I had a nice 2-hour-long DDR session today on stream, and I'm feeling swamped. I even did strength training afterwards because if it's a leg day, I gotta do some squats. Gotta put the barbell over my neck, get some good squats in, some Bulgarians, did some abs today. I ate a little bit because I just had breakfast before I did all that, and that's exhausting after hours and hours on it. But that being said, I actually took it a little bit slower video-wise this week, preparing for I guess the majority of the month. I'm trying to get a lot of the things we've been doing kind of regularly on Tuesdays and Wednesdays prepared, so that way I can kind of filter things in as I suppose things happen or come out. You know, Armored Core is due out for later this month. Sea of Stars is as well. And September is probably going to be equally as busy. At the very least, I know Lies of P, and I'm sure something else is going to pop up. Not to mention Sea of Stars and Armored Core are going to pour over into September. So on top of my usual 14 stuff, a bunch of Dawntrail stuff, and I am still preparing more videos before the next Fan Fest in regards to what we learned about Dawntrail, speculation videos, and stuff like that. So we got a lot in the works. Plus, there's some things I can't tell you about just yet. Really more on the Twitch side of things. But, I mean, all the same. It's all good news. But either way, we got our Q&A. So let's answer some questions like that Q&A does, I suppose. Anyway, thanks to our sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. They don't have to. They choose to, and I appreciate it. On top of that, don't forget all the affiliate links in the description. Hardware from SteelSeries, keyboards, mice, headset. Ask me questions about them whenever you want. Been sponsored for years. Green Man Gaming for Steam code discounts. They're an official retailer. They're not like a reseller or anything, so they're always good there, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, let's get to the questions. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Happy. Hi. Thanks for answering my question a few weeks back about what to expect from First FanFest. My question now is, how does Corsair generally work in 11? You know, it's funny. That's one of the videos I'm preparing, is it's going to go over the way it worked in 11 and what I think will carry over and what I think won't carry over. I've heard the term hexagon thrown around with magical bullets and Corsair being the biggest prediction at the moment. I figured it'd be interesting to hear what the job is like in 11. So when it initially came out, it was a quasi-support and DPS. Essentially, it had enough skill in sword and gun for it to deal pretty decent damage. It also had decent skill in dagger as well, but very rarely did you see Corsairs with daggers outside of a few particular ones. But the big thing is it was a buffer, and you could gamble on your buffs that you could give to your teammates. You could roll for a lucky number or an unlucky number or a perfect 11, similar to a 21 in blackjack. If you went over 11, though, you actually debuffed everyone in your party. So it was about making sure that you took calculated risks. And at the later levels, you could get skills like Snake Eyes to manipulate it by only increasing it by 1. So it became a little bit easier. On top of that, your gun had magical bullets. The hexagon, it could, sleep targets, slow targets, bind targets. It could do all sorts of things. And they were really good. They were really well-rounded. You pretty much always had one in the party. The biggest thing they could do is reset their party members' abilities, and people would try to do that to reset their longest abilities, which had a 2-hour cooldown at the time. Nowadays, they have a lot more sword play. Savage Blade spam is a big thing, but their gunplay is still as important, if not more important than it ever was, as is their buffing. So they've been a powerhouse literally since they were introduced. And so, here's the thing. I wouldn't expect the gambling aspect to come through. Some ability names and whatnot, yeah, and the sword plus gun combo would be pretty cool. I'm not sure if they'll do that or if they'll try to do like a sword and whip, try to be a little bit different, in some capacity. But either way, yeah, Corsair is also my guess, and I'm doing a more in-depth video on that. In fact, I think I've already recorded it. I just need to edit it. Sorry if you hear my, what's it called? My washer. I'm washing clothes right now, so it's really loud. It's pretty full, so I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Haps. Hi. Narrative-wise, would you prefer new characters take a more prominent role in the story for the Scions to remain in the main cast 7.0 and onward? I'm indifferent. I think they've done a decent enough job of introducing characters that are short-term that the community has kind of fallen in love with. And yeah, while sometimes I want more of those characters and less of the ones that we already know so much about, it is nice to have this sort of consistency. I think so I don't really follow anime now, but I think about all of the shows and I guess animes I watched growing up. And often the core crew makes the show. Like, I grew up with like Yu Yu Hakusho, for example. And while, yeah, they would introduce new characters for the different arcs, you still had the main 4 characters that were part of every adventure in some capacity. And I couldn't imagine not having them there while introducing the new characters on top of them. So I guess I kind of see it like that, and I suppose they probably do as well. But not everyone's, you know, into that. And then I think of, like, every time I've ever followed, like, you ever watch a show and, like, you get really used to everyone. It's like a similar crew for, like, 2-3 seasons. They replace one person and, you know, maybe you're a little indifferent. Maybe you like them. Maybe you don't. Maybe they grow on you eventually. And then, like, the show goes on for, like, 9-10 seasons, and suddenly there's only, like, 2 or 3 people from the original crew left, and, like, every season you kind of struggle with it a little bit more. It's I think they're trying to avoid that situation, and I think they're more going for the core crew plus new people. So, yeah, I guess I'm really indifferent about which way they decide to handle it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, hi. As someone getting into the FF series through 14, I've always been curious about 11 and its story. Sadly, there's very few resources on 11 lore. Have you ever considered a series summarizing what happens in each expansion? I was actually working on that video a while back, and then I just didn't want to do it. So, 11, much like 14, does have a lot of stuff that goes into it, a lot of lore in the background that sometimes gets explored, sometimes doesn't, in all honesty. It's kind of a mess. Like, 14 is way, way better about making sure that lore and world building are accessible. And in 11, there's a lot of filling in the gaps. Like, you kind of have to assume certain things about certain characters in order for things to line up, because they very rarely have all the answers, and there's very rarely a resource that definitively states all the answers. So you really just have to take what the story tells you and extrapolate from there. So because of that, it's a little bit tough to do, because I essentially have to not make things up at times, but I almost have to make things up in order to really, like, pull it all together. But I suppose if it's broad strokes and it doesn't get into those kind of specifics, yeah, I've considered it, but it is a lot to go through, and it's very easy to forget some of the small things. So that was one of the big things that kept me away from doing it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Well met, Mr. Happy. Hi. Hope you're liking the new place better than the old. I mean, it's the same as the old one, pretty much. It's just I'm in my living room now. There's a hardwood floor, and I don't have a second floor. A downsized, you know, as one would expect when you move out on your own. What's your favorite beverage? I don't really have a favorite. I drink water. You know what? Of course I have a favorite beverage. In fact, I have some of my favorite beverage. Where's my coffee? Wait. I had a whole nother thing of coffee. Where is it? Is it still in here? Did I leave it in my bag from this morning? I think I did. Did I? Is it in here? Oh my God, it's still in here. I have so much coffee left. Coffee. Coffee's the answer. And you know what? I'm glad this question is here, because I didn't drink as much coffee this morning because I didn't want to be, like, over caffeinated going into my DDR session. So, but now I'm after the DDR session. It's like 3:49. I shouldn't drink too much because, like, I go to bed at like 10ish. But you know what? To get through this Q&A, still hot. Still hot. That's a good thermos. Still hot. Coffee's the answer. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. Finally back asking stuff with the expansion hype. Nice. Since you pretty much went through all variations of job changes and reworks, what do you think the current jobs need more as the milestone level 100 ability? I've been memeing 2-stack spender for Black Mage with Ultima or something. What do you think? Honestly, I don't think Astro and Dragoon are the only 2 jobs that are walking away feeling significantly different after we get Dawntrail. I can't help but feel that way. Because it feels like there's a lot of jobs in the same scenario that Astro and Dragoon were in. Where, yeah, you could come up with something really small to add to the job, and honestly, it's not a bad idea in most cases. But I don't think that's what they're going to do. I don't think they're just going to add something small to most of the jobs. I think they're going to, you know, just do away with a lot and redo and start over and give them something flashy and new that isn't just built on top of what's already there. So, you know, I don't know, like Monk, I expect to just be upgrading skills. Yeah, I guess if they're gonna not add anything like significant. You having fun back there, Aloha? Yeah, you better be. Yeah, I don't think they'll do anything like too new with Monk, for example. Yeah, Black Mage, like something as simple as that. And I feel like that's what they're gonna do to a lot of jobs. Like Summoner, they could have some fun with, but what are they gonna rework it again? It's not like they've ever done that before. Come on now. Machinist. They really need to do something about Machinist. Like, don't get me wrong, the job does well if you're playing it like single target content, but I still hate the division between the single target and AoE skills. I talk about it in a separate video, Machinist. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of... The problem is, I feel like level 100 should be bigger. I guess that's my fault, though. Like, there's no real reason for me to feel that way. So just doing these little things is so... Excuse me. Oh, actually, that's fine. That's fine. Can't get mad at someone responding to me when I'm the one who messaged them. It's my fault for having it on. Yeah, so I don't know. It's honestly, it's too tough. It's too tough a topic for me to talk about in this short a video. So I think maybe you've just given me a new video idea. This is a long one, and I'm going to be honest with you. I've saved you some time and read most of it ahead. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. They did both of those. I got to give them credit for that. So this is actually about a topic that I don't have anything, I think, intelligent enough to say about, which is why I haven't talked about it a whole lot. The trailer for Dawntrail, obviously most people look at the location, the mammal jaw, you know, they try to extrapolate from the shirt and, you know, how the Warrior of Light is dressed. And honestly, that became the majority of the conversation. However, the voice at the end of the trailer is not a voice from someone we know. Some people have convinced themselves it's Erenville, but it's clearly a woman speaking, and that's apparently more obvious in other languages. It's a woman saying, welcome to my... Yeah, actually, the quote as a whole is right here. At last, we're come to the land you call the New World, my home, Tyrol. So, you know, that's thing. There's like an unknown guest with us, and it's very clearly not the same person. Now, on my live stream, I believe I said that's probably a female Hrothgar, and that's why they don't show who it is. But with the accent, I feel like it's probably another Bun, just not Erenville. It's very clearly not Erenville's voice. So because I don't have anything that isn't, like, essentially, I can only speculate based on nothing, which is why I haven't really spoken about this topic at all. And that's fine. I mean, people speculate on nothing all the time. But for me, because of the way I produce content, I could only, if I'm going to wish list something, it feels almost irresponsible to put the thought in people's heads that it is what the result is. Because that's happened before where I've said, obviously we're getting male Viera and we got Hrothgar instead. Like, I put it in people's minds and people genuinely blamed me for thinking that and for people thinking that and refusing to accept an alternative like that we didn't get male Viera when Shadowbringers came out. Like, so I try to be a little bit more measured about a prediction like this or about a speculation like this. And I just don't have enough context to have any sort of intelligent guess or speculation or anything. It'd just be crazy thoughts, and that would be about it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Happy. Hi. Hope you and yours are well. Aloha. Well, Aloha's right behind the microphone now. He's been having fun back there. Going into the 10th anniversary since A Realm Reborn, is there a moment either in-game or while running raids that has stuck with you? Mr. Madge is always going to be one, and that's actually a recent one, too. That's from the start of Endwalker. So I've got pretty decent memory of, like, some of the more important events, but honestly, there's nothing to do with the game itself. It's that content creation, which has largely been through Final Fantasy XIV, has been a point of growth. Honestly, it's a little hard to talk about because when I look back at me 10 years ago, I see someone who should have absolutely crashed and burned. Young, rambunctious, used to being kind of ignored, suddenly being put up on a pedestal. I've said it before, but it went to my head big time. And I don't know. I hate that. Like, I think back to the individual experience I had with people while I was like that and how much better they could have been if I wasn't such, like, honestly, what's the word? I'm socially inept now. Well, I'm socially anxious more than anything. I was socially inept 10 years ago. So if anything, the memories of times that probably could have been better if I was more of an adult 10 years ago stick with me more than any specific memory about Final Fantasy XIV that's on the positive side, because I like to remember those moments and think of those as turning points in a lot of ways. Now, don't get me wrong, part of being entertaining now is still being a bit of a man-child. You know, I can maintain an intelligent conversation, but if I see the numbers 6 and 9 next to each other, I'm going to go... You know, there's always going to be some element of that to it, but I feel like I owned it and made that all a part of me when I was 10 years ago, and then through growth, I've learned to be more than just what I thought was what people wanted me to be. I can essentially be a person now. That's how I like to put it. So very different than the answer you're probably expecting. If I were to pick an individual memory, I would have to pick so many that we'd be here forever. It'd be a video idea. That washing machine is so full. I don't know how much light. It's going to go the whole video pretty much, but it is what it is. Maybe the music will drown it out a little bit. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello there, Haps. Hi. I was wondering if you think it would ever be possible to see an obscure job like Chocobo Knight ever added to 14. So I've said this when people ask me what I think questions, and that they're very difficult because I'm not an authority. I'm not a dev. Unless I don't value my opinion in any sort of higher capacity. Again, big change from 10 years ago where everyone made me feel like the being up on that pedestal made me feel like I had to have something for something like this. So I think it would be irresponsible for me to say no. But it also would not, to my own, experiences with the developers, it wouldn't make sense because you'd essentially have to always be on your Chocobo, and then there'd have to be a separation between your Chocobo buddy and the Chocobo that's part of your job. And then they'd have to have, it'd have to not be its own thing and have its own stats because you don't want it as a pet. You need to be riding it. And then you're this massive, massive target, unless it's like a really tiny Chocobo compared to everyone else. But you also still need to have the same movement speed or barely any more movement speed than anyone else, but you're on a choke. You know what I mean? Like, there's all these aspects that literally do not fit the game's design to ever suspect they would do something like that. So that's as good as an answer as you're going to get, I guess. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you're doing well. Same to you. My question is pretty quick, but we'll see about the answer. With us having 2 expansions having the same hunt currency, do you think they'll see a new currency and finally have Aetheryte tickets to be included with nuts? No, I don't think they ever include Aetheryte tickets with nuts. I think they want to stop adding new currencies if they're not going to remove the old ones. So Allied Seals and Centurio Seals, very likely to stay forever, and nuts just to be added to the current roster. I think they're just going to keep adding things to nuts and never change it again. And they genuinely do not want the current hunts giving Aetheryte tickets, because you actually enter something that happens here is that while doing current max level content, you are invalidating teleport cost as a whole. You're encouraging it. At the very least, if you want to do that now, you have to participate in Blue Mage or go back and do B rank hunts for the old zones, or participate in, Stormblood hunt trains or kill hunt mod. Like, you have to in some way participate with a piece of older content to get those free teleport tickets, which is probably better off overall. If every time I run a hunt train, I'm net positive like 50 teleports, what's the point in even having teleport costs? Like, yeah, I get there's people who don't hunt, but what's the point? Because on top, like, it's not like I need to spend the nuts on materia. You're giving me free materia as well. So no, I don't think it's healthy for the game to do that. And I think they know that at this point. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. I saw a pic of your DDR play session calorie count, and holy hell, you put in the work. Yeah, you probably saw the one where it was like 2,100 or something by the end of the day. Today, I think today it wasn't as much as that because I didn't stream for 5 hours. 1,165. To be fair, I don't really trust the numbers that a Fitbit gives you when it comes to a calorie adjustment. Honestly, I just refuse to believe technology has a full grasp on that. But all the same, it's what it says. And thank you. I've been planning on buying a new high-end gaming PC to coincide with the launch of the new expansion. Right now I'm looking at Corsair models, but only because that is definitely going to be one of the new jobs. Any advice which companies are worth looking into? So budget's a big thing here. Unfortunately, computer parts in the recent years have been really touch and go. Years and years ago, I'd recommend you just buying your parts and learning to put it together. It's kind of like putting together you know, like a Lego, in all honesty. Like, it's very easy. It's a lot of just plugging things. And honestly, the scariest thing for me was always mounting the motherboard. Other than that, and I guess it's maybe putting in the CPU, but not really that much. The scariest thing is actually turning it on. But at all the same, nowadays, that's not really the case. I'll tell you what, the only company I've ever had a bad experience with is CyberPower PC. They built me a PC. I literally just picked a stock one, didn't pick custom anything, and they shipped it to me, and the liquid cooling didn't work. So I shipped it back to them. They shipped it back to me. Hey! Ivy, stop messing with him. I'm trying to record a video. Hey, come here. Stop. Stop messing with him. He was just trying to nap. Come here. See these cats? These cats are wiling out. Magic trick. There you go. All right. Good thing I could see them in the reflection over here. There you go, Ivy. Now relax. Relax, relax, relax. There you go. Okay. Yeah, I had a terrible experience with them. And then so they shipped it back to me. It still didn't work. So then I called them, and unfortunately I was already out of warranty by the time, because I didn't get like an extended warranty because I was dumb. So now I just talk about how bad they were, because then I spoke to a manager, and the manager blamed me for picking the parts of the stock PC that I bought from them. Like, well, you picked those parts. And so awful experience. iBuyPower worked great. Origin has worked great. And then honestly, I just went down one time. I just went down to a Micro Center, which is like, I'm sorry, a Micro Center or a Fry's Electronics or something like that. Picked out the parts and then just had them build it. Like that's another option for you if you really want it. But you know, it's the only thing I would say is do not ever buy from CyberPower PC, because I had a terrible. It's unfortunate. I have an article. They wrote an article about me. Like a good one, like just like a highlighted article, just like, hey, you know, we're doing something on creators and da, 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 da. And but they're also the company that I will not endorse in any way. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Happy. Hi. I got a quick clarification question. For the graphics update, are all the areas going to be updated on launch, or will only 7.0 have the new graphics? I'm under the impression they just meant stuff like gear, weapons, unique character, enemy models. I asked because it was a little unclear during FanFest what they meant, since they showed Doma Castle and Ilmeg. So there's some things that, hey, Ivy, don't go bother him. Stop. There are some things that by updating them, they use those textures in multiple places. They're not like completely unique textures. So those are going to be updated everywhere, but it's mostly assets that are not so widely used that are going to need to be updated. So that means it's actually not going to be like one specific thing, like one specific expansion that looks worse by default. Essentially, if an asset is used in a lot of places, it means they've updated it, which means when they update stuff in the old world, that it'll be updated automatically. So Doma Castle being one of them. Any character, any NPC that isn't a completely unique model, something that you can make in like the character creator, for example, those will all look better because they're updating those assets. So what they specifically said was that they would, you know, of course, all 7.0 stuff will be updated, and then they'll go back through each expansion, find the things that aren't updated, and update them. So 7.0, then 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, 6.0, whatever still needs updating, they'll basically move along that trail. But a lot of stuff from the old world will be updated. I mean, they even showed Ilmeg, you know, as another example for Shadowbringers because of the way that they generate the foliage. It's just there are going to be inconsistencies in some places. I swear if they start fighting again. Hashtag Mondays with the Happy Mister. Hello there, Senor Happy. Hope you're doing all right. I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. I'm new to the 0.5 and 0.55 cycle since it's going to be divided into two parts. Will 6.55 have an increase in item level or gear? No, it's just going to be the second part of the MSQ, and on top of that, whatever other content they're saving for that. So no, there's not going to be any sort of major new I mean, it's not like there's not going to be new stuff, but no, the answer to the question directly, there will not be an increase in item level for the rest of the expansion from this point onward. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Haps. Hi. Hope things are going well. I'll say they are. Was wondering, is it safe to expect at some point to see your 16 playthrough in the VOD channel? Dude, I wish I was more consistent. The answer is yes. I just need to do it. I need to do all of the Final Fantasy parts that are still uploaded there and just need to be made live. I'm so overwhelmed with everything I'm doing with Twitch, with my new workout regimen, with, you know, my cooking. Like, I essentially, you know, now I was already kind of a one-man show when it came to content. They're fighting again, by the way. They'll work it out of their system. They'll work it out. Aloha's on the defensive, and Ivy doesn't seem like she wants to mess with them anymore. Yeah, I was already a one-man show when it came to content creation, but I'm a one-man show for everything now. So it's definitely a lot harder to manage the time, and it's really, for more than anything, hard for me to remember to do. So the answer is yes. I can't give you a timeline, but it'll be there. Hashtag Aloha the Cat Mondays. Yeah, he's all over this video at this point. Aloha, aloha. I have a question for Mrhappy. Oh, you know, I'll see if he'll let me answer it. Are we good? We good? All right, we're good. With the graphics update confirmed to be coming to older zones and maps over time, is there any one zone or map you're excited to see a fresh coat of paint? Ozim Steppe. By far. It's like, I actually love the wide open field style area, but that's got to be it for me. Like, that's one of my favorite zones probably in the game. So yeah, that's my answer. Hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hello. Hi. Hope you're enjoying your new DDR mat. I sure am. On to my question, there is a growing split between mid-core and hardcore players regarding button bloat, with mid-core players failing or falling on the side of too many buttons and hardcore players thinking the number of buttons are fine. Too many. To my question, what changes could you make to satisfy both groups? Is having a summoner a good is summoner a good example? No. Summoner is an example of too much pruning. Summoner is an example of you have all your buttons by level 30, and thus as you gain levels, it becomes very unsatisfying. No, and honestly, I think you're generalizing a lot. I think the current volume of buttons is considerably okay, but there are certain jobs that absolutely are bloated that could use some trimming back. Samurai, for example, I think could still use some trimming. Paladin, for sure, could still use some trimming. What's another job that could even use some trimming? No, not Summoner, not Monk. Scholar, maybe, I think, a little bit. Yeah, there's still a few jobs that I think are over the volume even they want. But that's it. You know, there's a few specific skills you could go back on, but we're probably not going to get any more. And some jobs will probably still get less. Like they'll reduce the number of skills. But, I mean, you gotta work with what you got. I mean, if you can't play the job. Honestly, the funny thing about the button bloat is, even if they reduce the number of skills, I'm willing to bet some people still won't be able to do it properly. So I don't think that's the problem. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Hi, Haps. Hi. And an extra hello to hold on reserve for anyone that forgets theirs. None yet, but I'll take it. Hope you're doing well and your legs are scratch-free. My legs are never scratch-free, just to clarify. My question is regarding one of your favorite topics, that being the 2-minute meta. Yay! Anyway, do you think it's likely for Dawntrail they might reverse course on this encounter design, specifically the encounters? While I enjoy playing the game, I can't help but roll my eyes during fights when seemingly every mechanic is designed in a way to mess with 2-minute burst windows. But see, here's the thing. I like the occasional free 2-minute burst window. I think it's very important to have 2-minute burst windows that are not just the bosses giving me a freebie. Because that's how you build a better player to begin with. Like, being able to go through a rough 2-minute window and how to figure it out and how to optimize it, like, that's a degree of skill that is being trained. And yes, while it's very specific usually to that encounter, it does help inform you as to how you're going to do things for other encounters. So, if they're going to keep this 2-minute meta as is, no. And I don't think they should. Because I think you need some things that make 2-minute burst windows a little bit funky. The thing I don't want is something like P8S, where your 2-minute falls in a specific fight is drastically different depending on what the boss did first. That, I think, is uncool. But making sure there's something happening during some 2-minute windows, that's fine. Hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hello, Happy. Hi. Hope things are well. You too. Kind of a question, but more of an observation. Okay. I always felt we get at least 2 expansions out of the new world due to its sheer size, but with at least a significant chunk of the southern portion also being behind clouds is making me wonder about something. Feels though the current part that is unclouded works for a solid 3 or 4 zones plus the capital city. I don't personally see 6 zones. I actually made a video about this. This might have been asked beforehand. The southern parts of the New World. So the southern parts of the New World, I think, are the South Sea Isles, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, at the end of it all, the big thing is that, yes, there's a lot of the new world that has not been unclouded, and we'll just have to wait and see. Because the new world is like the size of Eorzea, which is more than enough for 6 zones, but it depends on how they use the space. So this is something that, like, you can think all 6 zones are in the new world. You can think they're going to open up the other part of the new world, or Mrhappy, or whatever they're going to do. Honestly, there's no way to say one way or the other. It's just, we wait and find out, and that's the end of it. 2 things before I go any further. There's one question. I thought I addressed it last week because it's a repeat of last week's question. But it was about Final Fantasy 16. And again, I'm not taking any sort of 16 story or spoiler related questions. If it has anything to do with it, I'm just not taking it into the video. I thought I said that last week, but maybe I didn't. So that's why I skipped that one. The other one is what do I think they'll do to Astro? Honestly, I'm not an Astro man. I shouldn't be. I shouldn't. It's like I can't. I don't know what to say about it. I guess maybe the cards. There's going to be less cards again. Like the cards are going to be streamlined even more. They're all going to be AOE. Every card's going to be 1% AOE damage. There you go. That's what I got. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi there. Hi. You doing good? Yeah, I'm doing good. You doing good? Good. Now that we're finally on to the new world, is there any place left besides Mrhappy and the other shards that would justify being a place for an entire expansion? Well, there is the South Sea Isles, and there is the entire north part of the new world, which we don't know if we're going to yet. There's also all of Ilsabard. Like, we have, that's Corvos and all the areas around it. It's largely unknown. But yeah, I'm sure there are plenty of places still that are undiscovered. Here's the thing. We assume that we've now seen the entirety of the globe. And I think somebody is probably fact-checking that in Mare Lamentorum at this very moment. But yeah, I'm sure there are plenty more places. Besides, they could just make something. They could just make like an undersea city if they ever wanted to, and just be like, oh, look at this. This is under the sea, and we're gonna do a whole expansion under the ocean. They can do whatever they want. It's not gonna be that hard for them. Any plans on covering Crafting Guild? No. And State of the Realm? No. There's honestly, it's not worth the whole show. It isn't. Anything we're gonna tell you is either no longer making as much gil or is like submarines. Because that's how most people make their gil now. They just do submarines and housing. I don't. I should, but I don't. That's kind of it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Good day, night, morning, evening, after toning. After toning. That's what it says, Mr. I finished my top prog last month. Oh, thank God. After 4 months. Oh. I'm going back in the top next weekend, and I'm not looking forward to it. Remember near the end of Prague, I felt so worn out and over playing this game. I would almost say I was feeling a bitterness from exhaustion of the Prague taking so long, people consistently making mistakes. However, now that it's been a month and we finished the Savage here, I feel like I'm in love with the game again, and I definitely feel like I know that toxic feeling I was having was from top Prague. The question is, have you gone through that kind of feeling or phases of any kind of content you've done? This whole expansion as a raider has been one giant test in exhaustion and patience, and it's not been great. It's not been great. Like, here's the thing. I think the quality of the fights, other than like stuff like P6 and P7, has overall been pretty good. I think As Fidelis is pretty much all winners. I think, you know, you're 2 for 4 in Abyssos, and you're 4 for 4 in Anabasios, with the third fight being a tad bit underwhelming, but top DSR, both the Criterions, Palace, on top of 3 Savage. I'm just tired. Bitter isn't the right word. I can separate kind of the tier, I suppose, and like rating and my personal experience from everything else, but it's just like I just sometimes I just want to take a step away. Like that's how I deal with things in real life too. If something is overwhelming and it's like got me at like a mental breaking point, I'm like, I need to step away. And sometimes I want to come back to it. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's not. But I'm just like, no, I need to separate myself from the situation, because it is not a healthy headspace for me to be in, and I do not want to be in it right now. So it's not bitterness, it's just understanding myself and stepping away. There were 2 questions that I skipped through. I should probably move into lightning round soon anyway. One was just, is there any mention of the Allagans going to the new world? I don't think by name, but I mean, they pretty much reached for the entire world, so I'd be shocked if they didn't have any influence. And then one was a really long kind of just idea of how exploration content would go in the future, and I didn't really have much I guess, add to it. So I just kind of skipped it. It was a really long right, but, you know, it's just, I just didn't feel like I had any value to add to it. So then this question, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello. Hi. How are you? Great. Has there been any word on rewards from past PvP seasons? Not yet. And I am also looking for this because they said they didn't want FOMO and that they would bring them back at some point. And they haven't yet. And they haven't talked about it in a while. And I'm thinking, and keep in mind for anyone listening, we mean specifically, as they've said, stuff that comes from the series. Okay, so the confusion is from past seasons. No. The series. The seasons are different. I love that. No, there isn't, but I've been keeping my eye on it. And trust me when I say you will know when it happens. Since I'm already starting to kind of click through some questions and I'm getting tired, I need to eat something more. Like I threw like a banana and like a quick protein bar in before I did this after my shower, but I need to like eat something. Oh, both my cats are hanging out behind me again. So I just have a few quick ones that I'm just gonna go through. Let's see. Do you think the changes to the die system will alter impact how gear sets are designed? I mean, they have to be designed with 2 dies in motion, but no, I doubt it. It's really just going to be more of a programming side things. However, I understand because some gear sets, they actually do like, they release the set and then they release the set again with a different die set. I don't think that's actually going to change all that much. I think maybe they'll reuse die or armor sets less because of it, and that's honestly a good thing. So that's about the only change I would personally expect. But I don't glam much anyway, so it's really hard for me to even, I guess, think about it, I suppose. Let's see. Let's see. Reactions. The 75% people seem totally shocked that FanFest opened with the 7.0 trailer. I mean, I've been saying for months that people who haven't been to a FanFest, they don't know. You got to remember, we didn't have a FanFest for Endwalker's announcement. We had an announcement stream like 3 days after Delubrum Savage came out. So then FanFest came, and of course, you know, we already knew what the expansion was. It was different. That was most people's first exposure to an expansion. So yeah, there's a lot of new people who have started playing in recent years. So you can't. That's why I've been trying to say it as often as possible. It is written in stone. I mean, I was streaming the week of, and I said expansion news on Friday, and they're like, "Where was that confirmed, huh?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll go easy on them. A little aggressive, but I'll go easy on them. They don't know. It's fine." And I think that's okay. There's probably a few more here. There's a few questions about healer stuff, but again, as a not healer main, I'm trying not to dive too deep into that because I feel like I'm not the most reputable person to say things about. So there was like one about a healer kerfluffle, and I don't know. It's asked about adding more risk and reward. No, the risk and reward. The risk is that you have bad teammates, and the reward is saving their asses. That's as bad as it gets. But they'll never bring anything like Cleric Stance back. No, Cleric Stance would be awful for the game. It's absolutely terrible for the game right now. It just absolutely would be. And no one can convince me otherwise. There's no good reason to bring it back. So, no, that's a big thing that's in there. And then there's like, if Pictomancer's the new job, well, how will it work? It's like, I don't know. They're going to paint things. They're going to paint a picture and it's going to do an attack. And it's not going to be like they're going to paint the enemy and use the enemy's attack. They're going to paint and it's just going to do an attack. That's really all it is. And then guns is the hexagon. I mean, if they're going to do Corsair, it's going to be the hexagon. So I wouldn't expect anything else for that. What's it called? And then there's something that's not even a question that has the hashtag. It's just like they think that Pictomancer could be the answer to Blue Mage as a full job, which maybe there wasn't even a question in that one. Made a comment during Dawntrail about the Warrior of Light having a voice. The reason, oh yeah, it was just they made it whoever's talking at the very start of the trailer. It seemed like it was that person who was on screen talking, and so instead of thinking, "Oh no, I was wrong," it's the Warrior of Light. It's not the Warrior of Light talking there. We just never elaborated. We just abandoned the thought and never went back to it. No, because it's somebody else talking. That's all it is. Let's see. Is there anything else? While doom scrolling YouTube. God, I'm not even gonna dignify. I read what that person said. I'm not gonna dignify that by putting it in the video. Time works on the source and the first. So to be clear, time on the first and the source, when we get to the first, they very specifically say it is the closest it's been in a long time. By fixing the first, we can assume that time passage is now relatively the same across both of them. So, no, I don't think... No, Reen's probably the same age at this point. With everything we fixed, it's probably now at a point where it's not going to make that much of a difference. Do you think we'll say goodbye to belay lines at Dawntrail? No, I think it's going to follow you. How about that instead? I think it's just going to follow you. Where did that sound come from? I swear I just heard a sound for something, and I don't know what it was, but it sounded like my phone. But my phone didn't make a noise. Let's see. And then they had catching up. Oh, no question. Then it's the audio monitor thing from a couple of weeks ago. Oh, yeah, you're asking about that. Yeah, I had a bias because I did broadcast radio. Yeah, I was super confused. But don't worry. The comment section from last week got me on that one. In regards to ultimate and rages, which do you prefer? 1-by-1 deaths or insta-kill? I'm indifferent. I think doing the same thing every time is boring. So just switching it up occasionally is for the better, I think. Astro and Dragoon, any other jobs you expect or want to get a rework? Kind of touched on it earlier. There's a few that I think they probably could, but I have no reason to suspect they are. I can only say it feels like there could be more than those two, but no particular ones. God, yeah, it's a good thing I started doing lightning rounds. Oh, it's another shirt one. I can't do these. And I don't think it's a serious one anyway. What are your thoughts of the visual absence of Alphino? I think he'll probably be dressed differently, but I don't think he's going to represent a new job. I don't think he deserves to be dressed that differently. I think our boy's gotten to glow up enough. So that's it. But I mean, yeah, it's hard to not notice his physical absence, even though we know he's there. And I think you can kind of see him on the boat in the last like few seconds. And that's it. I think I've covered everything in this week's Q&A. So, thank you for asking your questions in this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. If you have a question, be sure to put it in the comment section of the video below. Thank you to our sponsors over on Patreon for supporting, and to our sponsors via our affiliate links in the description of the video. Steel Series, which sponsors me every month at a 12% discount. GMG, which has all sorts of discounts on Steam games. They're an official retailer, not a reseller, so you know you can get it fairly and freely, and nothing's wrong with that. And Advanced GG with their 10% discount as well. You got all that good stuff. So, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Until then. Bye-bye.